Hello, and we are by Sotheby's here in Geneva to meet Mr. Sam Hines, who's going to walk us through some of the main highlights put on auction by the famous auction house. Let's go.
Thank you for coming. So I have 5 highlights to show you today. Our auction takes place next Tuesday, the 13th of November. And one of the first highlights would be this Rolex Gmt from 1963. What's great about this watch is the overall quality. The dial is black lacquer, and the luminous here has all aged perfectly together and is now a bright orange. Under UV light, this reacts perfectly. And also the case is very sharp with beveled edges. The watch has the original bracelet, and it has the original certificate and even the original invoice. So I thought this would be a nice thing to start with. Rolex obviously is one of the hottest areas of vintage collecting today. And we have this at, I think, starting at 15 to 25,000 francs. Sticking with Rolex, I'd like to show you two Daytonas. The reference 6263, so it has the black insert, the screw down pushers. But what's so incredible about this pair of watches is that they are in like new condition. They were both purchased on the same day. They were originally sold in 2013 in the the groundbreaking Daytona auction. But if we look at them, they have their original stickers, original paper, and really this is sort of like a reference guide on how a 6263 would have been purchased in the mid-1980s. And I think for top quality like this, there will always be a very strong market, because you will never be able to find another example quite like this. So I think it will continue in the years to come. It's hard to say how many 6263s were made, but the Daytona was a very popular watch, so there were thousands of them made. It's just so rare to find them in this condition. The Daytona in the last 5 years has risen in value maybe 300%. It's to do with fashion, but it's also to do with knowledge. I mean, Rolex collectors today have so much greater knowledge now than we ever have done. And I think what's driven the prices is the rarity. So the market really recognizes when there's something unusual, or if it's a reference that was in production for a very short time. So, and then sticking with Daytona, this is one of the highlights of the sale. So it's a 6239 Daytona from the late 1960s. On first glance, it may look like a regular silver dial 6239, but if you look closely, the watch is also fitted with a blue pulsation scale. It's one of only 3 pieces known. The watch is being consigned by the original owner. He was on holiday in the Bahamas in 1967, and he went to the Rolex retail store as he got off the boat, paid $400 for the watch, enjoyed it, wore it for many years, and it was only until recently that he had the watch serviced, and it was brought to his attention, the rarity of the dial, and now the watch is with us. But on closer inspection, I mean, you'll notice the watch has an incredibly crisp case, very sharp lugs, and you can even see the serial number and reference numbers without even using a loop. So the last similar example to this on the market was back in 2013. This will be one of the highlights of our auction too. With vintage Patek Philippe, Perpetual calendar chronographs is what all collectors aspire to own. We have here, this is a reference 1518, which was the first reference made in a series by Patek, featuring the chronograph and the Perpetual calendar complications. This is a great example. You can see the thickness of the lugs, and really we have a sharp hallmark here on the side, and then another sharp hallmark under the lug. This watch was made in the late 1940s, so it's quite a late example, first introduced in the early 40s. and made in about 49 pieces. So this is a 1518, and we have a pre-auction estimate of 300,000 to 500,000 Swiss francs. The main way to tell an early example versus a late is the signature, because in 1946 Patek Philippe and Co. changed their the logo or the way they signed the dials to just Patek Philippe Geneva. So they removed that and Co. So that's one way we can tell, okay, pre-1946 or after 1946. So then the top plot of our sale is one of the most important Patek Philippe Perpetual calendar chronographs, made in gold. It's a reference 2499, and this watch was made in 1952. It was sold by the famous English retailer Asprey in 1956. The watch was first on the market in 2006. Sotheby sold the watch for the first time in Geneva, and back then it made a staggering price of 2.2 million francs, which was a world record price for any reference 2499, and it was really, wow, you know, it was a big price back then. The watch is amazing condition and amazing quality. So this watch ticks all the boxes that the ultimate collectors for trophy watches are looking for today: rarity, condition, quality, the DNA of the brand, complications, everything, and provenance as well. I mean, if we look closely, we'll see we still have the original crown. The lugs still have the original factory brushed finish, and even the tops and bottoms of the pushers are brushed in the same way. We have a very crisp hallmark at the end of the lug here, and on this side of the case we have English hallmarks, which back then, when important watches were imported to different markets, customs would sometimes stamp the watch, and here we have, it actually has the date letter for 1955, which is great because it fits in, made by Patek in Geneva in 1952, imported into the UK in 1955, sold at Asprey in 1956. We have a monogram of the original owner's name, and you can see how crisp this monogram is. RC, 25th of May 1956. And then if we look closely at the lugs too, we've got this beautiful fluting, so these sharp lines that really identify the 2499 case. The story goes that Mr. RC went into a retailer in London, David Duggan, and he sold the watch, and he told David Duggan that it was a gift on his 21st birthday, and really not worn very much at all. But yes, the many aspects that make this watch incredible. It's the Asprey signature. It's the only known 2499 to be retailed by Asprey, but the overall quality as well. It's unpolished and really a pristine example. They started making it in 1952, so they first registered the watch in their archives, but maybe then it took another year or 2 years to complete the watch, and then, you know, back then there was no internet, there was no anything, so literally a salesman would take a suitcase full of product to Asprey or to other places, show them, and then they would pick and sell it. So it moved a lot slower back then. It's quite normal to see important watches like this made 4 or 5 years prior to them being sold.